Hi guys, this is Prashant Rao, and today is May 15th, Friday, close of the week. Um, just thought we'll take a look at how the markets are doing and talk about trading in general. So let's start with the usual S&P, and the S&P is still very much within this double top area. Normally, when you hit the neckline, this kind of a bounce is expected. So it could go either of the two ways. It could either move up fast or it will head down. More likely scenario is it would head down and probably all the way here. So that's that. Let's look at what other indexes are saying. Um, the Russell 2000 is also very much in that same pattern. Here, cross neckline, we saw the bounce, and expected path is downward from here. Um, so on the Nasdaq, things are a little more. Uh, doesn't the patterns don't look as obvious, so it is still very much trading within this channel. And I think the next week we'll probably see how it does. Nasdaq 100 has all of these mega cap stocks, and the mega caps are generally holding up, and so that's why I guess we are not seeing that pattern in the Nasdaq. So after the outside reversal last week, I thought we would go a bit higher, but then there were some headwinds that we saw earlier, which was the other indexes kind of not talking the same story. So even on the Dow, I think you see this little head and shoulders kind of pattern. And there we are. So overall, looking slightly bearish. Um, so again, we don't know how it's going to turn out. There's never certainty in the markets, so we'll have to watch and see what happens. The stocks that I talked about earlier are still well within the downtrend. In fact, I was talking about last time. I think I mentioned that I got in around here. So it's still within the downtrend. I expect this to continue and at the very least get somewhere around this area. So we'll see how that goes. Same thing with the delta. Cross this descending triangle and probably headed lower. So I'm very much focused on the Forex markets. I'm seeing a bunch of pairs turn. So let's look at a couple of them. One of them, I think, which I've been talking about is USD JPY. And USD JPY is still within that long-term descending triangle. And it hasn't quite made any kind of a steep downward trend. Still holding on to this. I think this is a great risk reward opportunity. I've been short at various points, but in general, you can see that the trend is lower. So I expect this trend to continue, and 107 to about let's say even 101 is 600 pips, which is a pretty huge amount in the Forex market. So let's look at a couple of others which look interesting. One of them is the British pound, US dollar, and currently I'm short this one. Double top, cross neckline, and then I expect it to retest this area. Pretty good risk reward in general. So if you're risking this much, or I mean, draw it a little more straight. If you're risking that, then your opportunity is this much, which is a little lower, 1:3. So that's good. Um, Another pair that I'm currently short is the GBP and Japanese yen. Similar kind of pattern, double top neckline, and seems to be trending lower, and I expect this to hit this area. So far we've been looking at the daily, but like I said, in general, I first start with monthly and then look at weekly and then daily. The reason I'm looking at daily charts is mostly because I've looked at them so many times that I kind of know what the trends are. But let's take a look at the weekly, and here you can see that on the weekly saw key reversal and we headed lower. Another one I think is Euro Japanese yen, which I'm currently short, and along similar lines as USD JPY. It's getting to this neckline, and I expect this to head a lot lower. So it's been in this downward trend for quite some time, and saw this key reversal here and went short, and here we are. So expect this trend to continue. Another one which I'm not currently short, but I plan to go short on is the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. And here again, you see a similar pattern, neckline in the context of this rounding top. And usually when something like this happens, the rounding top, you see a fairly steep decline pretty fast. In any case, I plan to get short on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. And on the weekly, it's a little more clearer. You see this big key reversal. So we have a little ways to go from here. So in the Forex market, unlike stocks, you can see that it's pretty volatile. It moves around a lot. And so the patterns might look, a little imperfect than what you would usually see in stocks, or especially in commodities. In commodities, the patterns are very clear. And you saw that with the gold chart in the previous videos. In the Forex market, given how big the market is, there are many players, and so people are pushing prices on in various directions, and the patterns are a little more, a little less clearer than with your typical commodities and stocks. So it's another pair that I'm looking at. Um, Australian dollar, US dollar kind of formed this double top. I had expected that it would head higher. It didn't, so I've gotten out of this. So this is something to keep in mind. If a trade doesn't work out, it's better off that you get out as early as possible. The last thing you want to do is wait until it heads here, and then you might think, oh, it's going to come back, but it might continue to head lower and all the way here or even further down. And then you're left wondering whether you want to still keep the trade, or you want to uh, you know get rid of it. And you don't want to get rid of it because you've already made such a huge loss, and so you continue to hold on to it. So the last thing you want is to be in that situation, because once you end up with too many stocks or instruments in your account, it becomes hard to track them, and it takes away all the focus. So you're better off focusing on a few instruments rather than having a lot of these uh, random things all around the place. So look for the best risk reward and place the trade, and then forget about it. If it doesn't go your way, make sure that you have a plan to exit. It's as important to have an exit plan as it is to have an entry plan. So all we are looking at here is telling you how to uh, enter. You also have to figure out what's your exit plan in case things don't work out. And in this case, my exit plan would be to have uh, stop loss just a hair above this. And if it doesn't work out that way, I just lose a few pips, maybe 10 pips or so. But the last thing I want to do is leave it hanging here till it just continues to rally or continues to go in the other direction that I'm betting in. Uh, and that's the number one reason why um, most people lose money, aside from uh, managing, uh, doing a lot of placing a lot of random bets. Um, a lot of people just hold on to stocks or you know, any instrument that is uh, going against them, hoping that it'll turn and they'll get a chance to sell. But when it turns a little bit and it's time to sell, and they wonder whether it's actually going to rise, and they don't sell, and then the next day it heads downward again, and then they wait for another turn, and this game continues, and eventually there's a huge loss on your hands. So don't get into that cycle. Markets are extremely good with, I guess, tricking most people, and you got to listen to what the market is saying. And if it's not working in your favor, just forget about it. It's not about whether you get it right or wrong. It's in the end, you got to look at it like an equation or a scientific problem and say, okay, here's I'm going to put in this much. I'm going to wait till it gets here. If it doesn't get here, and if it starts going away, then here's how much I'm willing to risk, and then just get out. So you got to be really, really scientific about this. Um, so uh, that I think pretty much. So those are the main things that I'm focused on in terms of what happened to gold. Let's take a look. It did break out of that triangle eventually. We had this steep descending triangle, or what I would actually a continuation pattern. Oops, apologies. And sure, it started to head higher. Uh, Given the other things that I'm betting on, I decided not to take this. So just let this one go. The other reason I let it go was because there is a pretty significant amount of resistance out here. And to cut through this, it's likely to take a few tries. You saw one, two, three, four attempts here, and it didn't get through the last time. And I don't expect this to pretty much cut through this the very first round. It might happen, but somewhat unlikely, and the risk reward is just not worth it. If it headed lower, on the other hand, I might have actually placed a trade, because that would be a much more probable and much less riskier. Silver, however, is an interesting one. Wish I was in this one. Uh, so silver just broke out in a pretty big way, and it is. We saw this massive double top here, and then it dropped like a rock. And I kind of got in at some point. I don't remember. It was probably $12 or $13, and I rode it all the way till it hit about $16, and I got out. So that's so 12 or 13 to 16 is $3, and silver and one futures contract um, is I think about $5,000. So even with one futures contract, you could have made a decent sum of money. In any case, I'm not currently in this one. I wish I was, but it's kind of a little late to the party. So I'm not going to try and chase this. That's another reason why you tend to lose money. If you think it's going higher, you didn't get a good entry point. You're better off not chasing this, and it is very likely that we will see a retest of this price. In forex and commodities, generally, if you reach a certain price, you're almost always guaranteed to hit that price again at some point. It never goes in a straight line. And gold and silver, platinum, these trade like currencies. And in fact, there is an XAU USD, XAG USD, and XPL USD for gold, silver, platinum. Unfortunately, if you're in the US, you cannot trade them due to Dodd-Frank rules, whatever. I have no idea why they did that. You're not allowed to bet on XAU USD within the US. But if you have an account, an international account, you can do that. Anyways, you do have gold futures though, which is a pretty accurate reflection of what this XAU USD does, the spot gold. So, um, so I missed the boat on silver, but we'll look forward to another day. And that's all for now. And I hope you guys have a good weekend. Thanks for watching the video. Feel free to leave any comments or any questions, and I'll try to address them next time. Thank you.